will when it's time. And he asked that everyone please be mindful of speaking up when they are speaking this evening.
Good evening, Boyd. How are you?
Good. How are y'all doing?
Pretty well, pretty well. We got an interesting view of your elk.
Oh, thank you. It's actually the neighbors. He killed it in Idaho with a bow, and
You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Of course I am. I'll run in and check. I'll be right back.
Yeah. We're playing around with the audio visual so that we can do the hybrid meetings. So the audio is different in the council room right now.
Opportunity to do hybrid meetings for the next foreseeable future is probably a very good idea.
So we're working on the sound. The issue is the sound in the council room and how it works. We're all segregated into different places.
Susan, you may do your standard countdown and you are good to go.
Okay, Bill, are you ready then?
Yes, I just want to say one more thing when we talk about the virtual meetings, just to take a second. I want to give everyone a heads up on this. That gives us the opportunity to have the meetings be publicly
On.
All righty, thank you very much. Let's call to order Town of Basalt Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. At 6:09, roll call, please.
Bill Marin,
Yo.
Paul Oberketter.
Yep.
Gino Rossetti, absent. Eric Volzik. Eric, your mute is on. We'll hold on.
Sorry, just saw that I'm here.
Okay. Michelle Tebow is not here yet. Bernie Grauer. Bernie, you're mute.
Here.
Rob Levitt.
Here.
Cindy Hirschfeld.
Here.
So we have a quorum, and just to note that since we don't have 7 regular members, Cindy will be fully participating in the meeting as a member and will be voting on all the items.
All right, let's first order of business is approve the minutes, April 20, 2021. Does anyone have any addition or changes to make? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Rob. All in favor?
Eric, we need to see you to vote without doing roll call.
That I'm showing on my end that I'm on video, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so I'm counting your vote because you said yes, but could everybody else raise their hand?
Yes.
Okay.
Eric wasn't shown on the meeting last night, just so everyone knows.
Okay.
That's good to know. Thanks, Bill. What's going on?
Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Susan. Item 3A, public hearing, Lot 4, Public Works Facility. Susan, is this you or is this James?
This is going to be Catherine, but I'm going to do some introductory comments on it. So this is Lot 4. It's a public hearing. This is the property that the town owns over at Mid-Valley Center, just south of Original Road Highway 82 intersection. And tonight we have Boyd Beerbaum, who's the Public Works Director. Boyd is on, and Catherine Christoph is our town engineer is taking the application. But I just wanted to kind of, before Catherine went into what the application is and what it proposes, just kind of wanted to lay the ground kind of the history of the town's public works facilities. I think everyone here knows that the town has been operating its public works facility out of the lot in Southside ever since actually I worked for the town of Basalt. And most of our growth, of course, has been in West Basalt. So we have kind of bandaged together a lot of public works activities strode all over town. So the town also owns the old Eagle County shop building off of Sopris Drive. We were storing a lot of our public works equipment over in the Crown Mountain building. In some areas there that the roof wasn't working anyway, but Crown Mountain has kicked us out of that site. So a big thing with the town is just that its operation exceeds its existing site. So the need for a public works facility, they had a study back in 2006, but just for a number of reasons, the town was never ever really able to kind of package a site or move quick enough on sites around town that would work for a public works facility. Looked at a number of different parcels and the needs of the town, and we ended up purchasing the Sheldon drilling site. And we closed on that property in January of 2021. So the town now is processing a land use application. I think we could have made an argument that we didn't need to do it just because of the way the original approvals were structured, but we're taking it through the P&Z and then the town council. So Boyd, do you want to add anything before we turn it over to Catherine?
Well, the current facility was set up before even Southside and way before Willits was even had gotten to its side now. So frankly, we just needed another operational base, and this puts us down on the closer toward Willits, so we don't have to road, as we say, road our equipment so far. We can spread our equipment out and use both sites for snow plowing and street sweeping, and it just puts us in a more strategic position.
And one of the other things that the town manager, wanted me to emphasize to the P&Z is just how valuable every square inch of the site is. Ideally, we would have had a centrally located site that was bigger. So when you look at the site plan, you'll see that we're kind of maximizing it to the extent possible. So with that, I'll turn it over to Catherine. And I think everybody met Catherine at our last meeting. I think you guys were all on. So with that, I'll turn it over to Catherine.
Hi again. My name is Catherine Christoph. As Susan said, I'm the town engineer. And if I can, I'm going to share my screen to orient you all as to where we are talking about. So this red outline is approximately the property boundaries for the new site. It's lot 4 in the Mid-Valley PUD. Here's 82 and original road. As we zoom in, you can see that this is where the former Shelton Drilling Company had their base of operations. It's a 1.17 acre site, and it currently is served by an existing well and septic system. The town is proposing to develop the lot as the new public works base of operations. As Susan just said, it will be considered the West Basalt facility. And to make the project cost effective, it was planned to do the project in 3 phases. Phase 1 includes improvements to the access. As you can see, it's right off of Highway 82, and it's and there's not clear access points both towards the facility, towards Umbrella Roofing Company, and then you have East Valley Road and Original Road. So as part of the access improvements, we'll be improving this one-way access to a 2-way access, and then moving the site's access and Umbrella Roofing Company's access south to bring those away from this 4-way intersection. And I'm sure you saw that on the site plan that was included as part of the package. Also, and we already do have an access permit from CDOT. We've been working with Sopris Engineering on obtaining that, and we have obtained that from CDOT already. As part of phase 1, this existing trailer, which has acted as an office space, will be moved towards the back of the site. And town also proposes to build a new pole barn. One of the primary purposes of this first phase of development will be to get equipment under storage and out of the weather. So this will be a great benefit. There'll also be the construction of some storage bins on site. And then we will be abandoning the well to the extent that it serves the domestic uses on site. It will continue to be used for some minor irrigation purposes for this landscape area. Otherwise, the site will be connected to Mid-Valley Metro District, both for the water needs of the site and the sewer. So that's a summary of phase 1. Phase 2, you'll see on this site plan, those improvements are in blue. The trailer will be eliminated and an additional garage and office structure will be built. The ground floor, as I mentioned, will be a garage, and then on the second floor, there'll be some office spaces. And then as a result, we'll need to move some of those storage bins. Then there'll be potentially be a third phase, as was discussed in the packet. This will only occur if Widget Street is extended through the property. I'll go back to the aerial photo to better describe that. So as part of CDOT's access control plan, they identify a future connection from this intersection down the property line and then into this development area. I guess phase 3 is not imminent, but it's something that could occur in the future. This access road that would travel through the site and connect through to Willets Lane. Let's see, I'll go back to the area. So as part of the application, this was referred out to Eagle County, and they had some specific comments about placing an access easement in this area as part of the development. And at this point, the town feels that placing that easement should be delayed to occur when it's truly needed. Given that this will be, the site will be in operation and this is an operating roofing company, we don't necessarily want people running utilities through the site at this point. But as you can see, the major improvements to the site do avoid this corridor so that it could be accommodated in the future. In addition to Eagle County, we heard back from Roaring Fork Fire, and as well as Mid-Valley Metro District on their comments. The fire district was excited and supportive of the application, especially with the improvements to the access to the site. Mid-Valley Metro District is also supportive. We have a few technical comments that we're still working out around connection to the utilities, but they are supportive. We also heard from, you'll see in your packet, a letter from the owner of this lot, Amanda with TAC Fitness, and she is supportive of the proposal. And I believe Susan had the opportunity to talk with a representative of Lot 2 and the ski company who have some property in this area, and they were supportive of the application as well. Staff has proposed a number of conditions, as you may have seen in the application. I'll stop sharing my screen at this point. And those included, first, that the applicant will comply with their representation and record all the necessary documents, that the uses of this site should be updated to adequately reflect the public works facility. You may have seen we also spoke to reducing the setback. There's a proposed perimeter fence that will be on site, and in order to accommodate that, we need to reduce the setback for the site. also the lighting and landscaping will meet the town standards. We felt that affordable housing requirements have been met through the town's recent affordable housing purchases. We also propose a condition that the applicant shall meet the requirements as outlined in that Mid-Valley Metro District letter and their standard requirements, and as well as the Roaring Fork Fire Department's comments on the application. And finally, that the vesting for this planning application would be for 3 years. So that's a general overview of the proposed development, and now I'm available to discuss any questions you all may have and answer any questions.
All righty, let's go through and ask questions of the applicant. Kyle, do you have any questions to ask?
So the current access road would be changed to one way, or you're saying it's currently one way and would become a two-way road?
Yeah, sorry that wasn't clear. So currently it is one way, and we will be changing it to two-way and widening that road.
Interesting. I don't think anyone knows that that's a one-way road.
I think that's true, and I think that's one of the safety concerns of the site.
So
Okay.
legally, you can, regardless of the way it's signed, you can legally drive in, but you can't drive out, even though there is a stop sign as you drive out. So I think that's kind of the key issue of why the fire department is so supportive of the application and the two buildings that are part of the Mid-Valley Center. They really are seeing such a great improvement having it two-way and having it be organized. And we've also kind of committed to, there's a sidewalk that's over on lot 2 of the Mid-Valley Center. That's the one that's closest to East Valley Road. There's a sidewalk that would take you to the bus. So we're going to go out there and do some trimming of the land, of the trees there, so that you can have a better pedestrian experience there. And maybe one thing I should just maybe add on why we were asking for a setback reduction. So the original PUD, I don't know that anybody here was here through the different iterations of what happened with the Mid-Valley Center. It was originally designed as a senior care facility, and it had a land lease that was owned by Sheldon. And when they came in with the original approvals, Sheldon was still operating his drill operation, and so they established the setbacks, the buffers, and any of the variances with those approvals, but they really didn't do anything with lot 4. When where the TAC Fitness is, which is called the Wynn Institute, when that came in for development, parking was a really significant issue because we were having 2 medical buildings there. And so what happened is that Sheldon ended up getting an easement on lot 4 to build his head-in parking there that is in that kind of shared boundary between lot 3 and lot 4, and build a sidewalk. So 11 feet of, normally you might have a landscape buffer between the 2 sites, and here 11 feet of that is already taken up with parking and a sidewalk. We're proposing to increase that sidewalk width to another 5 feet, so there'd be a 10-foot sidewalk in that area. And so we're just trying to make most use of that site. And the reason that we're expanding the sidewalk is that when you have the pull-in parking on a 5-foot sidewalk, there's really nothing that's really left. And that sidewalk is kind of serving a bandit trail network that's back there. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. So instead, we're moving kind of the landscaping up toward the entryway more and putting that landscaping there. And those dead trees, you know, if you're coming in off of Original Road, you see those trees. Those are those trees that they look pretty dead. They'll be taken out and they're part of the whole access improvements. So we're hoping to leave tonight with a recommendation of, it is a public hearing, so we do need to take public comment, and we're hoping to walk out with a recommendation. You know, if you're not comfortable yet, we have another meeting. We're scheduled to go in front of the town council on the 8th and the 22nd, and then hoping to go out to bid for the intersection improvements, mainly in the pole barn. So those can go in this year. So that's kind of our phasing, is to do those improvements. And we did get we got a fairly substantial grant from DOLA, 120,000, I think it was, to make these improvements. And maybe one other thing I'll just add, we had some meetings with Holy Cross and kind of CORE when we were kind of putting together our application. And so we were trying to make it as green as possible. It helps that we're using well water, and we're going to be putting solar panels on the pole barn and the new building. And we were kind of talking to the to Holy Cross about potentially using the area for battery storage. And maybe the other, I think we explain in there that right now there are some propane tanks that are part of, that are the trailer, that are used by the trailer to access the washer in the heating system. And we talked, we talked to everyone about whether it made sense to try to convert away from propane. And given the life of the trailer, it was more environmentally correct to keep the current appliances rather than switch them out. So that was kind of the conclusion of the environmental experts. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Bill.
Alrighty. Kyle, do you have any more questions?
Yeah. Is there been any study or consideration about, I assume since there's heavy machinery that's going to be operating early in the morning, kind of sound coming off of that and into the residential area behind that off the hill?
I guess I'd say I'll let Boyd chime in, but it's my understanding that most of the early morning operations would be for snow plowing, and given the plowing that the town does, it's really mostly done by pickup trucks, and they don't operate a lot of heavy machinery, but I'll let Boyd complete that answer.
Yeah, in our current location, we have some housing beside us and on top of another type shop, and we've never had any complaints because you know, we go in, we grab our trucks, and we're out and about. We're not like concentrated there for an extended period of time. We might load a truck up and then get out of there. We try to have all that done so that we don't make a big disturbance early in the morning.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you, Kyle. Eric, do you have any questions of the applicant or staff?
Yeah, one or two. You mentioned in the application, I think you briefly talked about maybe running fiber out there. Would it be possible? I know now a year and a half into COVID, and you know, a lot of our trailer parks don't have great access to internet access, and I think this would be a nice kind of thing if we're doing that to extend it out to the neighbors of that property. And I don't know if that's feasible or whatever else, but it would be kind of a nice extension. I guess it's more of a comment than a question, I guess, you know, but if that's going to happen.
We're actively working with Holy Cross on that alignment, and it does go east of the property and along the trailer park's property boundary, and we have started discussions with them about their ability to access some of that, and the intent would be for others besides just the facility to be able to use that utility when we and hopefully bring it in.
Awesome.
So the idea of the town, so the town's been working on a bunch of fiber projects. So we have an East Basalt one, you probably read about it in the paper. Then we've been working on a big West Basalt one, one that's more connected with connecting the signals. This one is so we can have lease fiber from Holy Cross, and then folks that are in the area can lease it from Holy Cross or from us. And so we've had discussion, just as a clarification, the line alignment runs between our property and Willis Bend, our property in the KOA. So our conversations to date have been with the Aspen Ski Company and really not the true Basalt Mobile Home Park, but we can reach out to them once we have the alignment that's up near Original Road, because that would be the natural kind of extension.
Perfect. Great. One or two other things. One would be in the application,
Eric.
I think we lost him again. Again, we lost him during the meeting last night too. So there's something happening with that.
And my question is, in the being good citizens and trying to be environmentally forward, would be better just to put them on sooner than later.
Eric, we lost you. Could you repeat that last question?
Sure. Speaking of poor internet connection. So my question was, it looked like reading the packet that the panels for the pole barn would go on in the second phase, and I'm wondering if that's possible to move to the first phase.
They are going on in the first phase.
Okay, that's good to know. I read it wrong then. And then my last question would be, forward thinking, knowing that we're moving towards a lot of electric vehicles, is there any consideration of charging stations going in the facility?
Yeah, so that was part of the reason that we were talking to Holy Cross about, trying to eventually move the fleet into electricity. And part of there's like this weird state legal requirement about matching your solar panels to your need. It can only be a little bit more. So we were, trying to coordinate with POR and Holy Cross about what those charging stations would be looking like and making sure we had enough power to do that.
Alrighty, Eric, do you have any further questions?
One last one. What's happening to the facility in Southside?
Boy,
We're gonna hold on to that and use it as just an as a base of operations more for East Basalt.
Cool. That is Mr. Mayor. All I have, Mr.
Alrighty, Eric, I think that's about all we can get out of his connection. Cindy, do you have any questions? And please keep it to questions. We'll have a period of comments after the public hearing.
Yeah, just so to clarify my understanding of it, you just mentioned you were going to keep the facility in Southside. Are there other facilities that will be like decommissioned that will just move to this site, or what's being used or stored there?
Well, what's happened, as Susan mentioned earlier, we did have some use of the Crown Mountain site, for a while, and frankly, it had got dilapidated, and Crown needed the space. So I don't know if you noticed, we've had equipment sitting in the old recycle center parking just to try to find some space. The only other facility, that we have is called over on Soapers Drive. We call it the Annex. And it's in pretty dire shape itself. And so I don't know if the town would eventually try to put some money and fix that up. Currently, we have 3 pieces of diesel equipment in there. It is somewhat heated, and diesel does so much better if we can keep it in a somewhat heated environment. especially when you go to crank it up at 3 o'clock in the morning in January. It really helps to have a little heat. So what we're trying to do is we'll keep our east one, get our west one going, and then see where we are as far as space and stuff.
And then I think just to make sure I interpreted this correctly from the application, that this is foreseen to that it will accommodate the town's needs. I think it said for the foreseeable future. So there's room for growth there.
Yeah, we've kind of, done I guess, thinking forward a little bit, and, there's Stott's Mill going in, and then there's going to be a few more developments. We think we can sustain the maintenance with what we're going to get now, unless the town decided to do a big annexation. I think we'll be okay for a while.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Rob, do you have any questions of the staff or applicant?
Just a quick one. I had written down, Susan, do we have the opportunity for solar panels? And you kind of answered that. So the only question is, do we have the room now or in the future to add additional solar panels to sell back to the grid, or do whatever we can do with it?
Susan, you're muted.
I think we'll be maximizing the solar on the two buildings, on those two roofs. And I think actually the place where we could maybe make an impact is the battery storage. And part of the battery store, the commercial battery storage thing that we can store electricity and maybe feed it back into the grid.
Okay. That's all, Bill. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Bernie, questions of staff or the applicant? You're muted, Bernie.
You're still muted.
Okay, I am unmuted now. I think it's been presented well by the staff and the applicant. Clearly, there's a need to expand our facility. That is an ideal location, and you'll be cleaning up a pretty messy access and egress of that Mid-Valley Medical Center that's only getting more crowded. So I have no questions.
All right, thank you, Bernie. I have one question that has not been answered yet, and that would be about the connector. I know that there has been a high level of concern from the Willits Bend HOA, of which one of our councilmen is a member. And so I wanted to make sure that we addressed that pedestrian connection from Willits Bend to the bus stop.
Well, there's been two kind of layers of discussion. The bigger one was we did meet with the developer of Willits Bend, and just kind of acknowledged the amount of traffic that's kind of coming through on Willits Lane. So we have a little bit, we have more legwork to do to formalize that easement. I mean, to formalize an easement on that area. But what we've done is we've encouraged it on our site by having the sidewalk and widening the sidewalk. And then we're going to improve the pedestrian connection across that access drive so you can get to the bus stop. We've also, you recently had discussion with the Aspen Skiing Company because they were approached when Willits Bend was under review of whether there was opportunities for access through the KOA property. And so they're receptive to, people moving through their area. My sense is that since the true ultimate long-term use of the KOA property isn't really determined by the Aspen Skiing Company, they don't want to put anything permanent in in the record, but we'll be working on those other connections. And then the good news with the ski company is they were receptive. They've also owned property, you may know, in industrial park, and so they were receptive to maybe some discussions there about moving additional traffic through the area, pedestrian traffic through the area. So that's kind of where we are on that, Bill. We're not at the point where we're totally ready on that, but we're working on it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the conversation was happening.
Yes.
That's all. Okay, I think that's all for questions, unless anyone else has any further questions that came up. No. All right, let's open this up for public comment at 6:43 p.m. And if any members of the public wish to speak, Susan, are you going to manage that?
Yes, James and I are going to manage that. James is actually the keeper of the letting people in, and I'll make the announcement. So let me know when you want me to open the public hearing.
Let's do it now.
Okay. So if there's any public watching on Grassroots TV, the easiest way to access the meeting and provide public comment is on the second page of the agenda packet that you access through the Agenda Center on the town's webpage. You can hit the link, the Zoom link, and you'll be pulled in, and James will let you in the meeting. If you don't have that ability, you can call us, and Caesar has the phone number up on the site for everyone, but it's 1-346-248-7799. And the webinar ID is 997-0026-3899. So maybe we just wait for 15 minutes. And James, you don't see anybody that wants to speak, correct?
There's nobody under the attendees.
So maybe, and I'll look, because I have on the agenda that you can text me at 970-379-1514 if you have any problems, and I don't have any text messages. So maybe just wait a few more minutes, a few more seconds, Bill, and I think we're ready.
Okay. Is that good enough to end the
Yeah, I think so.
Let's end the public comment portion of the meeting at 6:45 p.m. And now we will do commissioner comments. If you have comments to make, let's start with Kyle.
Nope, all good.
All right, thanks. Cindy, do you have any comments to make?
No additional comments.
All right, thanks. Rob, comments, please.
No comments. Willing to make a motion to approve.
Well, when we get through the rest of our comments, we'll do that. And you're the first. Bernie, comments?
No additional comments.
All righty. I have one comment to make, and that is actually for Cindy, cute cat.
Oh, thank you.
He or she looks very comfortable where they are.
Yeah, it's a he. He's my assistant.
Very good. Very good. I just wanted to reiterate what Bernie had said about just the community benefit of this. It's just a great thing. And I'm sure the residents of Southside would appreciate this very much. So we have a first from Rob. Do we have a second? We have a second from Bernie. Susan, yes, comment.
Oh, no, I didn't hear anything from you. I didn't hear that you called on Eric, but that's okay.
Oh, Eric, I'm sorry, you moved. You're down at the bottom of my screen now. Do you have any comments to make?
Thanks, Susan. Geez, Bill. No comments. Looks good.
Okay, good. No, yeah, you were on my upper left, and now you're like way at the bottom. That's how I usually do it. Is I scan the.
I figured out how to move around the Zoom board.
Yeah, well, now we can see you too,
and hear you too. All right, thank you, Eric. So we have a first and we have a second. All in favor? Do we need a roll call vote, Susan?
Yes, and I will do that. The first was Rob and the second was
With Bernie.
Bernie. Okay. Just a second, let me get this down. Bill Marin,
Yes.
Kyle Oberketter,
Yes.
Gino Rossetti, absent. Eric Volzek,
Yes.
Del Tebow, absent. Bernie Grauer,
Aye.
Rob Levitt,
Yes.
Cindy Hirschfeld.
Yes.
Okay. The motion carries. Thank you
Alrighty.
very much.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
all your work on it. Good luck with your new project, Boyd.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Where are we here? Okay, Susan, discussion for vote for chair and vice chair.
Okay, so back in October, we reappointed Bill Marin as chair and Eric Volzek as vice chair. And at the time, we kind of pointed out that the town code is envisioning that we hold elections in May. So at that time, it was a consensus that we revisit and have elections, and we try to get back on a May schedule. So that is why the item is in front of you today. So you can keep the status quo and elect the chair and the vice chair. You can talk about if someone else wants to volunteer to be the chair. It's really a P&Z discussion. The role of the chair obviously is to preside at the meetings and sign documents like P&Z resolutions and the minutes. They'll address some procedural issues that we have, and the vice chair steps in when the chair is not able to be at the meeting. Bill, is there anything I should add in terms of duties of the chair?
No, not really. You know, the chair acts a little bit like an impromptu liaison between the council and this board, just to try and create joint meetings or rattle for joint meetings when they're necessary. But other than that, no, you pretty much got that. And as far as my position is concerned, I'd be perfectly happy to continue doing this. I love this job. So if you guys will have me, I still want to. And Eric, how do you feel?
I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy to do that. I know, I'm a history teacher, so I always love rocking the boat. So, I would throw out, if we wanted to change, I'm all for that. So I can go either way on whatever everybody wants.
So you're not proposing a violent insurrection or anything like that?
No, not violent insurrection, no.
Governmental change is usually bumpy.
Usually in our country, it's not until recently, so.
Yeah. Okay, does anyone else have any comments to make about this? Kyle, do you have any comments to make on this subject?
Nope, I'm still new enough just to listen.
All right, Cindy, comments? Okay, Rob, do you have any comments?
Well, are we having a proper election tonight with limited attendance, or what are we looking at doing here tonight?
We do have to have a proper election. And
is that going to be tonight?
Well, no, I don't think the world falls apart if you didn't want to do it at tonight's meeting. The code speaks to May elections, and so you could, I don't think that, again, the world doesn't fall apart. You could do it. You have a quorum, or you could wait. It's really up to you.
Well, I mean, it looks like our next meeting is going to be in June, and I think we should have a proper election, whether it be tonight or with a greater attendance.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more comments on this?
No, that's good for now.
Okay, good. Bernie, do you have any comments on this issue? And you're muted.
Now I'm not. I say we go for it tonight. We're supposed to do it in June. No guarantee any more people will show up. I mean, in May, no guarantee any more people will show up in June. So we got 5. I say, let's go for it.
Sounds good. Eric?
I'm fine with voting now. I would just throw out there that, you know, either Bernie or Rob have been on the committee now for a while. I'd be happy to kind of entertain them if they were interested in stepping in, you know, or we keep the status quo. But just if we're voting, there's, what is there, 5, 6 of us here, we can take care of it and be done.
All righty. Susan, how do you want to propose the mechanics of this election?
Well, maybe we have a vote first of how many people want to do it tonight versus scheduling it at the next meeting. So maybe we just have a vote on that first.
Okay, let's have a show of hands for tonight. Rob, you're not voting for tonight?
I was gonna wait for a full board.
Okay, so we have
You have 4 folks that say go
four,
ahead.
1 against.
Right. So I think either someone could make a motion to appoint a chair and vice chair, and we could take it up that way, or right now we had Bill's volunteering to stay on. Eric was just second, Bernie. Eric was, I guess, agreeing, but not, you know, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on that, Eric?
No. I mean, like I said, I would advocate for staying or change. Either way, I'm happy to stay in my role or go a different direction.
Okay, so Bernie, you were going to say something.
Yes, I nominate Bill Marin as chair and Eric Bozak as vice chair.
All right, do we have a second?
Is that how we do this?
Do we have some discussion too?
Yeah, we have a second. We can have further discussion right now.
But is this a first, second kind of motion kind of thing, or is it a vote?
A week ago, or last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, we voted for the other Basalt Community Board by emailing Susan.
Yeah, and I guess you guys could talk about if you want to do it that way. You could do it that way and email both. Why you email both James and me, since Pam's not on as the town clerk. But if you want to do it that way, we could do it that way too. And then maybe we have a ratification afterwards. Like we could do a silent vote, and then since it's a more formal position, maybe just a ratification after that. But we have a motion, which is Bernie, okay? We have a second, which was Cindy. I just wanted to clarify who the second was.
Yes, the first and second.
Second was Cindy, and then after a motion and second, you can discuss the motion. So,
so any further discussion on this motion?
I mean, the one thing that I think we'll do it separately. Do you guys want to, I just don't want to get into procedural. James, are you thinking it's okay to have them email me like last time on yes or no? And we do that, and then maybe we just have a ratification vote after that?
It's yes or no, or voting for who we want?
No, this is voting for Bernie's motion.
Which is Bill.
That's not the way we.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be, in the past, has it been a motion or has it been a vote? Because those are 2 different things.
Yeah, it should be a vote.
Well, we're voting for the motion. If the motion gets.
You
I guess
don't
we're
elect on
debating,
the
and the
motion,
question
you
I would
elect
have
on the
is,
vote.
is there a legal definition of how we do it?
You know, I would say that Normally normally how we do the chair would be someone, people volunteer, people agree to serve, and someone makes a motion, and then we approve the motion or not. That's normally how we would do it.
Which is what we just did.
Well, we have a motion and a second.
And now we're debating and whether we're going to go forward with it. Yeah.
Well, I think because there are nobody else has expressed interest in being a candidate, so to speak. What would be it's kind of one or the other, whether we vote like a write-in vote or vote for the motion, and it's still voting.
I'll throw the monkey wrench and I'll throw Rob out there as an alternative.
So what would that be? Eric, you're saying you as chair and Rob as vice chair? Is that what your motion is?
No, not Rob as chair and me vice chair. Like I said, this is where it becomes a vote kind of thing, and I don't know how to advocate for one or the other.
Well, we have an active motion with a first and a second, but no vote.
I think that motion should be repealed, and we should discuss how we're going to vote on this.
Isn't that what we're doing?
Well, who was the motion to make this was from Bernie. So either the motion, I think either the motion, the first or the second need to not vote on it would need to take away their second or the first.
Say that again, Susan.
Yeah.
Say that again. Repeat that, please.
Well, you could either vote on the motion, vote it up and down. Everybody just votes no, right? Because we need to get the motion off the table. Mm-hmm. Another way might be if Cindy wanted to repeal her motion, or Bernie wanted to take away his motion, right?
Okay, Bernie, what would you like to do?
I call for the motion.
Bernie is going to call for the motion.
Cindy, do you want to pick your second or not?
I'm sorry, do I want to repeal my second?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll repeal it because it seems like we have some more discussion to conduct.
And to muddy the waters, I want to shake things up and put Eric up for chair.
Is that a motion?
No, we don't.
My motion is that we should have to
agree on the mechanics of how this is going to work. Bernie, you're muted.
Yes, if we're ready to vote, I say we vote. I made a motion, vote it up or down. If it doesn't pass, somebody makes the next motion. That's the procedure, and I just don't want to torture this thing indefinitely.
But we're going to torture it.
So, Robert, you putting?
This is a very ill-defined process. I've been doing this for a really long time, but I really honestly can't remember the mechanics of how we did it all of the other times. Susan, I think we need some direction from the town as to what are the actual mechanics of how it's going to vote. Otherwise, we're going to have 5 different opinions on how that happens.
Okay. Well,
do we need to just motion to wait a meeting?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was kind of going.
I agree with Kyle. I think, I think that since this is a town process, the town should decide exactly the mechanics of how the vote works, so we don't have to sit here and arm wrestle with each other about it. And I think this gives the staff a chance to come up with a method for our yearly elections. So Kyle, you're going to call that a first and we'll vote on that? Did we wait till the next meeting? Okay. Yeah. So Kyle's a first. Do we have a second on this?
Second.
Rob says a second.
Point of order.
Yes, Bernie.
Can you really do that without voting on the motion?
You don't have a second.
Unless she's withdrawn her second and nobody seconds it and then it fails, right, Susan?
Yeah,
That's where we are.
Yeah, that's where we are. Cindy took her motion away, so we don't have a second.
Unless somebody wants to second it else. That's up to the chair to determine.
Yeah, I am not, since my position as chair is up for this, I'm not going to second that because that would be self-serving. But I think unless another second appears, that motion fails. Bernie's motion fails. So I'll give a moment for anyone to second that. If not, Kyle has a first to postpone this to the next meeting. So if a second shows up for there, then we'll.
He has a second.
Rob second.
Oh yeah, Rob is second. So we have a first and a second. That first motion failed because no one came up with a second. So we have Kyle's motion. Let's have a vote. All in favor of Kyle's motion?
Okay, so you want to call the opposed bill?
Opposed. Bernie, you opposed? Bernie's opposed.
Okay.
Okay, so Kyle's motion passes. We move this to the next meeting. Susan, this Kyle's motion implies that the town will come up with a voting procedure that we all agree.
Yep.
Okay, good. So we're past that. Item 4A, 4B, we're past that. Item 5, discussion work session with council. Susan, you have a work session tentatively on the books, correct?
Yes, so right now we have a work session with the council scheduled for this coming meeting, May 25th. So in the end, after you discuss this and you decide you're not ready, you'd like more time, there's nothing urgent that we have a work session. But when we gathered together a few months back, and actually it was before our new members were part of our group, there was just a desire for the P&Z to meet with the town council more frequently. So with that as background, that's what this item is for.
Well, I still feel that we should, if we are in a position to meet in person, that would be great. If not, doing it via Zoom, I think my opinion is that would be fine as well. Does anyone else want to weigh in on that? Kyle, do you have a thought about meeting with the council?
No, not for whatever group wants to do.
Cindy, any comments about this?
No comments.
Okay, Rob, do you have any thoughts about meeting with the council?
I think it's a great idea, especially given the developments this week with the Clark's Market parcel. It would be nice to be in the loop for that.
Thank you. Bernie, comments on meeting with council?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I would like to see it done on Zoom, and I would like Bill to give our input as to what we would like to see covered in the meeting, as well as getting the input on council and come up with a mutually agreed upon agenda. So, we don't waste time in general undirected discussion.
I think that's a good point. I think that staff should circulate a draft agenda for us. But I think master plan implementation is a big one, and we have a board all ready to discuss that. But I think we should all talk about it as two separate boards about that one thing. That's high on my list of concerns, and I imagine it's high on yours as well. Okay, Eric, do you have any comments on meeting with council?
And I would just add, what would the agenda be? What would the opportunity be? I think last time was more of a meet and greet kind of meeting, and that was nice. I think now would be, we're beyond that, even though it would be nice to introduce obviously the new folks, but what we're going to talk about would be important.
Yeah, I think, would you agree with me about master plan implementation being a really good discussion point?
Yeah, I just, the only question in the back of my head is with the capital needs committee meeting, are we, it's always nice to meet and get on the same page. Are we going to get a whole other committee, putting things forward? How would this be separate, I guess, is the only question I would have.
Just because it would be a contemporaneous discussion, but we still have to reel that in with all of the work that went on in the master plan with the capital needs committee gets to reference all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think it's a good idea. Like I said, is I just would, hone in on that agenda like you guys were talking.
And I guess that's why I'm kind of looking at you guys to hone on the agenda a little bit of what you guys think would be useful to talk about. And just kind of a little bit of a flag is that we can talk about the goals in terms of, what we're looking for in new development. But we do have to be a little bit careful in a public setting, looking that you're prejudging any land use application. So unfortunately, we can't really, we're really not set up to do like a dive into the Clark's Market application. You can speak in terms of what your vision was in the master plan for downtown and Clark's Market, but you just have to be careful that we're not prejudging a land use application.
No, Bill had a good point where it should all be framed within the scope of the master plan.
Yeah. Bernie.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the council if they have concrete goals and objectives to meet in terms of affordable housing and laying out some kind of plan, or are they just going to be reactive and wait for land use applications and handle it on a reactive basis?
Well, I think that's a good question and a good agenda bullet point to put on our list. As long as we don't say it in a confrontational sort of way, because the way you frame that discussion can seem that way, and I'd like to avoid that right off the bat with them.
Well, I don't see any reason for it to be confrontational. It's a major community value. It was reaffirmed in the master plan. It's a good thing to have on the agenda so that council can consider it and give us some direction and let us know where they, stand on it.
Yeah, I also think that by doing this, Susan, this will give some real, and Eric, this will give us some real input as to some real data for the Capital Needs Committee to discuss as well. But that will be, the Capital Needs Committee will be a real recommendation in front of council that they'll have to contend with. And, that's something to discuss in and of itself with them. But the Capital Needs Committee will be a formal, a formal declaration to them as to where the United Boards want to go. Eric, your thoughts on that, since you're our representative?
I mean, we've only had the one meeting. I mean, the way it's laid out, not to be devil's advocate, I just wonder if council's thinking we're just replicating what they're asking the other committee to do, and making more work. Obviously, we want to, the whole idea we've talked about in the past is having that open lines of communication and doing that. I just don't want council to say, why are we meeting when we have another committee doing this already?
Because
if I were the city council, I'd be like, we're replicating the wheel.
Well, no, our meeting with them would be asking questions, and the Capital Needs Committee will be answering questions.
Fair enough. Again, I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of council at this point.
Yeah, well, that's how I would answer that component. I think But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it because this is our discussion with them. And
yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of the framework of, I think that the council's really committed to the Capital Needs Committee doing its work. And the Capital Needs Committee is kind of made up of all these folks. And the role of the P&Z on this is really to help guide, because Eric is not supposed to speak for himself only, and Bill's not supposed to speak for himself only. He's supposed to be representing the P&Z. So that's really the function of the P&Z. You're not going directly to the council and saying, I want this. You've already done that. I mean, I think the one thing that maybe you can emphasize is, and I guess I would look to Eric and Bill, who were at the first meeting, is maybe just a reiteration of the work and the public input that we had in the work that had done on the putting out those projects. And that might be really kind of useful. But I don't think you want to get a different mechanism because they're really committed to the committee.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one point I made at the last meeting was to reiterate the value of the public input and the quantity and quality of the public input. And I want to continue to do that because it's sort of, you know, and all the time I've been on public boards, it's really easy and they're generally very quick to forget the work of the previous boards. And I want part of what the Capital Needs Committee to do and our relationship with it is to kind of carry the sanctity of the work we just did. And, you know, we came up with, you know, and to drive home the voting that was done by the citizens. Because that was a real valid snapshot of where the town was at that time.
That time is now. I mean, it's not like it's super long ago. It was a year ago.
I know.
A year and a half ago.
I want everyone to remember this. And so I see that as a big part of our job with the Capital Needs Committee and our job with the council too. You know, a portion of the council is new and I want to remind them of all of that so we don't have to revisit and relitigate all of those points we just made.
Mm-hmm.
So Susan, does that give you enough fodder to come up with a draft agenda for us?
Well, I'll work on something. I would just maybe ask anybody if there was anything else that, you know, you want to highlight in your discussion with them. Okay. So what do you think? Like 45 minutes?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. All right.
That's a decent amount of time. You can get some substantive discussions in that period.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so
are we doing this next week or not? I'm out next week, so
Oh, that's too bad. How many people can join us next week?
What day?
At 5. It is May 25th at 5 o'clock. It's done before the meeting.
What day?
Will that be by Zoom or in person?
Zoom on the What?
If we could wait 2 weeks or 4 weeks and do it in person, I think it would be much more valuable.
Other thoughts?
We have a slot. We have a slot in front of council. I don't want to necessarily give that up. Those are precious.
I'd say if you want to do it in person, I don't know, James, what do you think about trying to do something in person before the meeting outside on the 8th of June? Because we haven't worked out our mechanics about how we're going to do the combined meeting. So it might have to be that if we're inside, we all have to wear masks. So maybe if we did something outside at 5 and then move the council meeting in on the 8th.
As I see it, we don't have any pressing issues. So if we waited till June or July to get an in-face hour, that seems to me worthwhile.
Bernie has a question. Bernie, sort of statement. You're muted.
You know, the CDC guidelines pretty muddy, but if you get a bunch of people in an indoor room that's limited with not particularly good airflow or filters, you're increasing your risk factors. I would be happy to meet by Zoom either next week or a later date. I would not want to attend an indoor meeting. I would also, especially, I think it's absurd to wear a mask indoors. You're going to be muffled, and I don't get that. I think we need to make a decision, indoor or outdoor. I'm comfortable with Zoom, and I'm comfortable outdoors.
I personally am comfortable either way, but I think in deference to Bernie and Gino, who I know both have strong feelings about this, that we can at least consider doing this on Zoom for this next meeting. You know, I'd like there to be more, and as soon as we can do it in public with, in person, indoors without masks, that would be great.
I'm fine with that.
You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Good, good. So is everyone okay with the meeting as scheduled by Susan? By Zoom?
For next week.
For next week.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Kyle. Okay. All right.
So let's, you know, I feel pretty strongly not to blow a chance to have a meeting, and we have one. And, you know, maybe in you know, 4 months or so, things may be different. We'll be able to meet in person indoors.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to staff updates and commissioner comments. Staff, do you have any updates for us?
Well, I think if you've been reading the paper, you see the major items. Clark's Market's in. We're looking at the 155 units at Cypress Meadows Parcel 5. The restaurant, you know, working on the restaurant for Basalt River Park, and still working on a lot of their approval documents and trying to get all that in order. You know, they're also moving ahead on some of the residential product. We were talking to Rick today, and he has, is it 59 building permits, James?
That's somewhere around there.
Yeah, and so it's really, really, really intense right now. The car wash is moving forward. Stotts Mill is moving forward. You know, it's a hot market. Really fielding a lot of questions and interpretations, and you know, I think we're really slammed. We're getting ready. So the planning department, I think you guys know this, we're just really heavily involved in all the construction projects. So Two Rivers Road, they're actually thinking of starting to mobilize early next week. The pool is marching along. You know, the issues that we're having seem to be with like supplies. So, you know, James is the project manager on that. James, is there any other things that maybe I should highlight?
No, I think you've hit most of the large items. As Susan indicated, Two Rivers Road, they're probably going to be looking at starting construction adjacent to the river park in the next week or two. And then we're still working on getting the park itself out to bid for installation. So that hopefully comes shortly here.
So you'll first see a lot of, out there at the park, you'll see a lot of utility work being done. But the good news is, the very good news is that we were able to work on our turning radiuses on the park access, and we used our town public works site and painted lines on it and proved that the Basalt Sanitation District vehicles could make those curves. So that was a major success.
All right. Any other staff updates or comments?
Susan, when's the big recycling event?
It is June 26th, Saturday. It's going to be at the high school, and it's going to have a lot of things that you can recycle, including electronics and appliances and tires. And so it's going to be a great event, really advertised for Basalt residents and residents of kind of the Eagle County eligible. It's going to be held in Pickens County, but it's an Eagle County Basalt event. Primarily, I'd say at least 2/3 of it will be funded by Eagle County and with Town of Basalt paying funds too.
Cool.
All righty. Commissioner comments. Do any of you have comments to make? You can start with Eric. Do you have any comments to make?
Well, just let everybody know we did have the first meeting on the capital needs committee yesterday. It was more of an introduction, kind of setting up the process, but I guess the big takeaway was that we really, there was an emphasis on the master plan and what we had done all that effort for, and in particular on kind of digging into the 13 primary projects that we and the town had voted on, as Bill had alluded to. And so starting next week, we're really going to start digging into those a little bit more, and maybe even putting some flesh to those bones and making some proposals. So if there are particular items that strike your fancy, or you want me to let me know as I represent us on that, let me know. Starting next week, we meet every other week.
All right, thank you, Eric. Bernie, do you have any comments to make?
No, other than, I look back how different today's environment is compared to just 3-4 years ago, when we were still coming out of the tail end of the great real estate crash. So it's the lesson is it's all cyclical in economics.
This is true, Bernie. All righty. Rob, do you have any comments to make?
Quick question, James, out of the 59 permits you're looking at, how many are single family?
James, you're on mute.
I'm not sure, to be honest. That was Rick. He just indicated to us that he had 50 some permits being reviewed. I can get clarification from him though.
Not very many.
Just curious, no problem. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks. Cindy, do you have any comments?
Nope. No additional comments.
All right. Thank you. Kyle, comments to make?
Just a question about the tree farm. I know it's not in Basalt, but I heard that some of the projects may start coming out of the ground. Has there been any update on that?
We don't. We heard the same thing that you had. We know the fire department's reviewing some things. So no, we know that there's some things coming out of the ground, but not a lot of specifics.
All righty. Thank you, Kyle. I want to make one comment. I would like to thank staff, because I know things are starting to ramp up, and I know you guys are super, super busy, and you still attend to our fussy and sometimes strange needs. So thank you all very much for all the work you do. And with that, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn. If anyone else has any more comments, does not have any more comments.
Motion to adjourn.
We have first.
Second.
We have a second from Rob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Everyone
Good night, everybody.
have a nice day.
Everybody.